Stare back my little boxwood that's been growing slowly. If you can remember back to the last video on this tree, it was looking a little funky. Some of the leaves started to go white around the edges, kind of like they were variegated. And there's one branch that went a bit golden. But you can see here everything's starting to look normal again. This is supposed to be an evergreen, so it was a little strange that it did change colour. But I guess it was just something to do with the winter, as here in the summer it's starting to look fine again. It's not fully perfect, but it's good to see it changing back to what it used to be. I really need to wire this tree. Everything's just kind of bunched up and growing straight up, and there's one side where everything looks a bit flat. But it's slow growing, and you can see it hasn't really put much growth on over the summer, and I haven't done any work to it. By September it'll be slowing down for the year. But you can see the leaves are the colour they're supposed to be, that really lush dark green colour. They contrast really well with the pale bark. If I can actually get this to put on some size and general branching, it could look pretty good. The colour and the size of the leaves are really nice. It's just very slow to develop any thickness. I know that's partly because it's in a small pot, but even in the ground they're super slow. But it's fine, I'll just let it do what it does, and eventually it might start looking more interesting. At least it's healthy and quite bushy here. There's not a lot happening over the winter, and it didn't seem to change much this year, which is good. It seems to be back to its normal self. In February I'm going to give it a light trim. It doesn't look like it's growing much, but it has. The new growth is quite compact, so it's hard to see any difference. But it's ready for a prune, and this will set up nicely for the spring. It looks quite bushy here, but it's better to push these slightly longer branches back, as they will divide and send out more shoots, so it will end up actually more bushy in the long run. And the more branches you have, the easier it is to actually build a tree that looks good. So although it's a slow grower, this pruning here will help it in the future. I'm mostly just pruning the tips here, just shortening everything a little. It's not very drastic, you probably won't even see much of a change at the end. But there is a lot of branches, so it does take a while to go through them all and prune each one. I also should have probably wired it here, but I didn't. Maybe it was too cold, but I am going to repot it this spring, so maybe I was just thinking to do that after. I can use some guy wires to attach to the pot, so it makes no sense to do that now. May as well do it after repot. And it's a slow grower, so there's no rush. And here it is after, all ready for spring. Just need to start pushing out some buds and I'll repot it. And that repot is going to happen here in April. And let me just move this mess out the way here. I've repotted a few trees before this one, so it kind of gets messy, but anyway, I'm going to start by removing that top layer. It's kind of green, but not the best kind of moss, so it's not worth keeping. I do reuse a lot of my soil, and it's mostly molar clay, which doesn't really break down. I don't really want any lumps of moss mixed in there, so I'll just get rid of this stuff on the top before I really get started. It seems to be quite jammed in there, but I have a little secret release button that if I press will magically free it up. That doesn't work for all pots, but it's worth giving it a try. You can see it's a decent little root ball. It isn't too bad, it's pretty full, but you'll see in a second that's not actually really compact. It actually comes apart pretty easily. I think that's also partly due to the species. Boxwood does grow a lot of roots, but they're always well behaved and don't become a nightmare. It doesn't really matter how many roots there are, you can usually just untangle them really easy like I'm doing here. This root ball isn't the best, but it's not the worst. It's kind of just okay. It hasn't got any cool root flare forming, but it's pretty compact and I can get it pretty flat. So it's slowly getting there. I do like that they're so easy to rake out though, as that can get quite stressful at times. Anyway, I had a bit of technical failure when filming this. The batteries and memory kind of started running out. I didn't get to catch all the action, but basically I just pruned it and potted it back up in the same pot. I managed to film this little bit so you can kind of get a rough idea of what happened, but nothing too crazy. And here we are now, not looking any different. But that's all ready now for the summer growth. Thanks for watching, see you next time.